Hello everyone, this is the Bisin here back with another video, and wow, lots of changes have been announced to Pokemon Unite over the past few days. Wasn't initially planning to make a video talking about it, but then draft changes, I made a post about that. Then they announced that Aeos coins are going to get removed, and I thought, hey, this might be make or break for Pokemon Unite. So we're going to be talking about it, talking about the good things and bad things associated with these changes. I think it's good and important to focus on both sides instead of only focusing on the bad or only focusing on the good. I think it's important to look at all sides of the picture. That's what we'll be trying to do today. First of all, starting with draft. Earlier games that were draft games would only happen when all players on both teams were above 1200 elo. Basically, everyone had to be master rank, which I think is fair and I think is a good system because that's how ranked is supposed to be. But with the change that has been proposed, all 10 players on both teams need to have a master rank ranking of over 1400. Now the chances of this happening is extremely low. The reason for this is because, even if you are over 1400, the way the matchmaking system currently pairs players together, it takes players that are high elo, low elo, averages them, and makes a team. Last season, for example, when I was 1500 elo, I was still getting paired with ultras. And no, I'm not in a small place or anything. I'm in the United States, I'm in southern US, and I'm still getting these games. So I can't imagine how it is for the rest of the world. There are much smaller regions, and I'm sure the matchmaking is much worse there. So it's definitely going to be affecting everyone. And I doubt there are going to be any players getting draft games anymore. Maybe in your final week you'll potentially get one. But if you're solo queue, the chances of actually getting draft games are going to be next to nothing, which is very unfortunate. Draft allowed us to ban Pokemon that were OP and that were ruining the meta, and we were banning all the news releases lately, and I guess maybe the devs weren't happy about that, so we're probably going to have games with Mega Evolutions across both teams all the time. Not a fan of that. I did like the diversity in teams too, that was very fun. At least we had teams that had very different Pokemon, which was nice, but I guess the devs want us to play the same few Pokemon all the time. I don't know if there are any positives with this. I guess the only positive is games will be faster now. You can get into ranked games faster. Unfortunately, the quality of those games is probably going to go down. And yeah, I was saying I'll find the positives and negatives. There's a lot of negatives with this one. I don't think many people are happy about it. And I really hope they change their decision or change something. Maybe if they make it 1300. Even if they make it 1300, I don't think it's gonna help things too much, honestly. But yeah, 1400, we really will not get any draft games. So very, very unhappy about that. But outside of that, we of course have the introduction, or rather the removal of Aeos coins and the introduction of license journeys, a new way to obtain the Unite licenses, which could be good. I think there are some positives with this. I think there are some good things that can come from this, of course. One of the big positives is the fact that new players will likely be able to gain licenses faster, which I think is important. I feel like the devs have kind of been ignoring new players and their experience for a bit. That being said, I don't know how many new players are actually coming to Pokemon Unite, but this will potentially allow them to get Unite licenses faster, because back in my day, licenses were 6,000 coins, some were 8,000, the highest was 10,000. Now I think some Pokemon are 15,000 coins. I think the average has become 13,000, and with the current system, it is next to impossible to get all licenses quickly. In fact, it is impossible to do that, so I guess the devs are trying to cater to newer players or players who are returning, casuals. It will help them, and I think that is important and good. That being said, I think there are some major red flags potentially here because of the wording in some of these statements here. First of all, it says, however, there will also be times players can choose from all Unite licenses in the game, therefore implying there are going to be times where we are not able to do that. I think that's going to be most of the time, further implying there might be an order in which the Pokemon Unite licenses can be acquired, and that is a bit worrying because that seems like a system that's not very fun. You have to play and unlock certain Pokemon in order to get other ones that you actually want. So I hope that's not how it is going to work, but it kind of looks like that might be the case with how the pictures are here, how it's worded. Additionally, there are times where you can choose from anything. Guess that's going to be like around Christmas, like certain events, they'll allow that to happen. Unite licenses for newly released Pokemon may also become available at the same time they're released in the shop. Another word that means that it's probably going to be on very specific events, very specific Pokemon, maybe mythicals, legendaries, who knows. Additionally, I mean, I'm guessing they're going to gemlock Pokemon because that's become normalized in our community, and there hasn't been as much outrage about that lately, so gemlocking Pokemon for the first week and then making it available afterwards. Who knows? I don't know. And that's the big thing. No one actually knows the answer to all of these questions as to whether this is going to work properly, how it's going to work, if there's going to be a certain order in which you have to unlock Pokemon before you unlock certain ones. And if that's the case, that's going to be a bit frustrating, but definitely seems like it could be the case. There's also going to be ways to speed the process up, you know, premium battle pass, and then another thing I saw, they have these random box openings you get per day, so another like gacha type thing. It said on rare occasions you can get Unite licenses from this. Just want to temper expectations. When they say Unite licenses, think trial licenses. Maybe they'll give actual licenses, but highly doubting that. I hope they give actual licenses, but they probably mean trial licenses, so just wanted to temper expectations a bit. And then the big thing, Aeos coins are going to be removed, which is scary because that's a very big change. The removal of Aeos coins, the only valued free-to-play currency in the game right now, is... I don't know. I mean, there were talks, I think there were leaks about some sort of system like this coming out, but I don't think anyone expected Aeos coins to be removed with the introduction of this system. But here we are, and December 4th, Aeos coins will no longer be distributed. You can no longer get Unite licenses with Aeos coins, and I guess you can only use coins for upgrading emblems, and maybe there are some small things. You can get certain fashion pieces in the shop for coins, maybe. Oh, this is a situation. And then in May 2026, those will be completely removed. We will be able to exchange Aeos coins for some of this new license journey system. So hopefully they can fairly compensate players, but I'm not sure how this is going to work. And that's the thing, no one really knows exactly how this is going to work. The only thing we do know is the fact that the Chinese version of Pokemon Unite, the China release, the one that we all have talked about in the past, actually does have this same system. So maybe this is us further trying to merge with the Chinese version of Pokemon Unite, which could be good. It does make me very nervous. And one of the reasons it makes me nervous is because a game that followed a very similar trend, a very similar path, was called Multiverses. Multiverses had a very bad system of unlocking characters, and then they created something called the Fighter Road, which is kind of giving licensed journeys, Fighter Road licensed journeys, kind of makes me nervous because they did the same type of thing. They released this Fighter Road system, they removed their currency completely, so players who had that currency no longer had it, same way we're losing our Aeos coins, and they had a very similar system where you can get these these different heroes to be unlocked by playing through these different missions, and then, I mean, you could of course pay to get through it faster, but this is the same thing Multiverses did, and people were not a fan of it because there was a certain order in which you had to unlock your different heroes, so you couldn't choose which one you wanted, you had to go in this order. And that was frustrating. Lots of people didn't like it, to the point that Multiverses eventually died. Now, I'm not saying it was only because of this. There were many other reasons Multiverses died, but this was definitely a big factor. Lots of people in the community hated this. I was following the game. I didn't play it, but I was following Multiverses because I was interested in it. But this was one of the nails in the coffin. And it's crazy that Pokemon Unite is following almost the same exact structure in terms of how this system works. Maybe they'll change it. Maybe they'll be nicer. Maybe there won't be a set order. But my goodness, the fact that they're following a system that actually failed worries me. I've heard that Honor of Kings, another game owned by Timmy, has a very good unlock system. I think it might be somewhat similar. Don't know the details about that personally. But maybe they're trying to do something like that. Maybe this will be good. Maybe we'll be able to unlock things a lot faster. And I certainly hope that's the case, because new players, like I said, definitely are not able to unlock as many Pokemon. They're probably not having as much fun. 15,000 coins for a Pokemon is crazy. But at the same time, this is nerve-wracking. Because this could be either the beginning of a new era of Unite, where we're merging with the Chinese version, and we're bringing all these features, or this could be maybe not good, in the sense that, how do I say this? Multiverses died, and Pokemon Unite could also follow that same path. Regardless, I'm still gonna be here, making videos, having fun with it. I was planning to make an Aeos coins guide video. Don't know if I'll do that now because it's gonna be actually useless, but I'd been working on that for a while. I was planning to finish it soon, but that's fine. We'll see. Anyways, I've been rambling I think for a bit now. Hopefully things work out. Hopefully the game doesn't die with this change, but I guess we'll see. And finally, hopefully you all enjoyed. Let me know what you all think in the comment section, and I will be there in the next video. Cheers.